my name is Elizabeth and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in this video, I wanted to talk about the Deuterocanonical books. I really have trouble saying that word, but bear with me as I butcher many other books because I really struggle with saying certain words right. So anyhow, they are also known as the Apocrypha. But there's actually two splits. There's the BC and the AD Apocrypha. Now, I don't believe the Roman Catholic Church uses the AD Apocrypha, so we're not really going to discuss that there. And I don't believe majority of Christians do. But then again, you could tell me I'm wrong, and I would like to know, if you believe you're a Christian and you use the AD Apocrypha books, and talk about why. I would love to hear from that. Anyhow, we're going to talk about a little bit about the OT, but before the ABC Apocrypha books, but before we get started with that, we need to talk about the foundation. What establishes these books? And I think the best way to understand is that each book kind of connects to each other. They reference each other. Another thing is that the foundation is the Torah, which is Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, not to be confused with the Deuterocanonical books, because that's a collection of books while Deuteronomy is one book. Now, I do believe that some Jews actually only use the Torah, and I would really like to know why is that the case. So seriously, put that in the comment down below if you are a Jew that only uses the Torah. Another thing to notice is that in Deuteronomy chapter 18, starting in verse 20, so let me put that in there. Starting in verse 20, it says, but the prophet who presumes to speak a word in my name, so this is God talking, telling his people this is how it should be, in my name, that I have not commanded him to speak, or who speaks in the name of other gods, that same prophet shall die. So, wow, that's a high thing there. If you say in your heart, how may we know that the word of the Lord has not spoken? When a prophet speaks in the name of the Lord, if the word does not come to pass or come true, that is a word that the Lord has not spoken. The prophet has spoken it presumptuously. You need not be afraid of him. So pretty much, short-term prophecy needs to be fulfilled, and it does not need to contradict God. So that's really how that works. And then again, each book needs to reference the other books. Now, if you are Jewish out there, and you are, I think you call them Hasidic Jews, I believe, you believe in just the Old Testament, I would really like to know, both the Torah Jews and if there are such thing as just Torah Jews, and those who believe in all 22 books of the Jewish faith, in that specific sector, the Jewish faith, because I think they might give you two different answers. So I would like to hear if there is two different answers. What would you do with me as a Gentile? As in, I mean, I guess it's more like, what should I do as a Gentile? Like, can I still have a connection with God? Can I still have a relationship with God? How does God view me as a Gentile, and how may I make the view quote unquote better or something? I kind of would just like to know that. So then a couple of scholars who really confirm the 22 books of the Old Testament. So we have Josephus, which is a Jewish historian. We have Philo of Alexandria, which talks about the three different groups of the Old Testament. That's the Torah, also known as the Law, also known as the Pentateuch. We have the writings, and then we have the prophets. Then a guy named 4QMMT, I guess that's what he's known for. So and again, similar three different parts. If we want to understand the historical of when it was actually fully accepted as scripture, the dates seem to vary among different scholars, but here's a rough estimate of the date. The Pentateuch 400 BC, the prophets 200 BC, and the writings 90 AD. And so from there, after that, it's not really too much, I guess, disputed. Again, there might be some Jews who only believe in the Torah, and then you could tell me I'm wrong, and so then I would have to go deeper into that to understand just the Torah versus the rest of the 22 books. Now, if you're a Protestant or a Roman Catholic who is wondering, why 22 books? Is that not the same as the Old Testament? It actually is. So 22 versus 39 books, here's the reason why. They combine certain books together. So for instance, 1st and 2nd Chronicles are one book to the Jews. 1st and 2nd Kings, one book to the Jews. Judges and Ruth, one book, because Ruth is actually a Pacific story within Judges, to be completely honest, and so forth like that. So that's how you get 22 verses 39. So now we have the New Testament. Again, the New Testament wasn't really too much disputed. It's pretty solid by now. And so we have the established same movement as the Old Testament. We have 2 Peter 3:16 confirming Paul's writing as scripture, since he says this as he writes. As he does not, he's talking about Paul. Peter is talking about Paul. As he does in all his letters when he speaks in them of these matters, there are some things in them that are hard to understand, which the ignorant and unstable twist to their own destruction, as they do the other scriptures. So that kind of seems to refer to them as part of scripture, since he's referring to as other scriptures, comparing them. Some trouble books. So about 22 out of 27 were really confirmed. It's really the last I guess five-ish books that we have trouble, which is 2 Peter, Jude, James, 2nd to 3rd John. A little bit before that, we had a little trouble with 1 Peter, 1 John, and Revelation. But really, we had pretty much all 22 out of 27 pretty much established. Then we get to the Deuterocanonical books. And the problem with these books is that the Jews, which is the Pharisees, don't accept them as historical. But, do accept them as historical, but not divinely. Now, one could argue that the Jews, according to the Protestants and the Catholics, have missed that Jesus is the Messiah, so they might have missed the Deuterocanonical books altogether. So you might have some stance there. Now, the Deuterocanonical books are written during the intertestament period, which is 400 years, which is pretty much the last book in the last prophet in the Old Testament to the time of John the Baptist. These books include 1st and 2nd Maccabees, 1st Esdras, Judith, Tobit, the Wisdom of Solomon, Sicah, which is Ecclesiastes, Baruch, as well as some other smaller books. And all of these are preserved in Greek. I don't know if they even have this in the original language of Hebrew, because wouldn't it be in Hebrew and not Greek? I'm not sure about that. And so even according to some, 1st Maccabees 4:46 says they stored, and I think this is talking about the Apocrypha, the Old Testament Apocrypha, the Deuterocanonical books. They stored the stones in a pseudo place on the Temple Mount until the coming of a prophet who could determine what to do with them. So some have used this verse even in the Apocrypha to say, well, they didn't even know what to do with these books. Another evidence for against the Apocrypha apparently is found in Luke 11, where it says, therefore the wisdom of God said, I will send to them prophets and apostles. Some of them they will kill and persecute, in order that this generation might be charged with the blood of all the prophets since the foundation of the world. From the blood of Abel to the blood of Zechariah, who died between the altar and the temple. Yes, I tell you, this generation will be charged with their blood. That's Luke 11:49-51. Now, the interesting thing is why Abel to Zechariah. Now, Zechariah wasn't actually the last prophet, but he's the last prophet mentioned in the Old Testament, which is Chronicles. And Abel is the first prophet mentioned in the first book of the Old Testament, which is Genesis. So some have said that because it's only between Genesis and Chronicles, which is the Old Testament ordering, that means that book is complete, that those collection books are complete and you cannot add to them. Then again, one could ask, well, we added to the New Testament. We added a whole New Testament collection, so, what then, right? And so another thing is apparently there's some evidence in Hebrew 11 that this is for the Apocrypha, because apparently there are certain parts of Hebrew 11 which talks about, and I think I'm reading out a Catholic Bible ever since I started in Maccabees. So this is interesting. Never read the translation of the Catholic Bible, but I think it's pretty much the same. Who by faith conquered kingdom, did what was righteous, attained the promise, they closed the mouths of lion, put out raging fire, escaped the devouring sword, out of weakness they were made powerful, becoming strong in battle, and turned back foreign invaders. Women received back their dead through resurrection. Some were tortured and would not accept the deliverance in order to attain a better resurrection. Others endured mockery, scourging, even chains and imprisonment. They were stoned, sawed in two, put to death at sword point. They went about in skins of sheep or goat, needy, afflicted, torment. The world was not worthy of them. They wandered about in the desert and the mountains, in caves and in crevices in the earth. And yet all these still approved because of the faith did not receive what has been promised. So that whole example apparently is, I guess, evidence of the Apocrypha, because of the Old Testament Apocrypha, the Deuterocanonical, because it talks about these events, which I guess could reference the Intertestament, the books from the Intertestament period, and the history from that. And so I really just would like, maybe to have a conversation in the comment section a little bit about, maybe from you Roman Catholic, why the Apocrypha? It seems like it does less harm to have the Apocrypha in the books, because it seems like, there's really nothing to lose. But then again, does a lot of part of your faith that makes you different from the Protestant come for the Apocrypha? So maybe that changes things. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe in the comment section below. Please do it politely, of course. We want to be respectful for everyone, but we also want to make it a good place to have these conversations as we all learn more about other people's faith, as it kind of, makes us question our own and learn, hopefully either brings us closer to the truth or strengthen what we already believe. So yeah, with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to this video. Push the bell button to get notification. I hope to see you guys next time. God bless. Bye.